A couple of months ago, Chambers of Xeric got a few quality of life changes done to them. While people were super excited for them when they actually came, the community seemed split. Let's talk about why these changes seemed so controversial, why some people love them, and why some people think it ruined the raid. Before I start the video, I just want to say that this is going to be a bit different than most of my content discussions. I tried to do a normal structure, but I think that for this topic it's better if I just lay it all out so you can follow the points a little bit better. So, first things first. Chambers of Xeric received some quality of life updates a couple of months ago. Amongst these, there were improvements to bosses, their drops, scaling options, improvements to scavenger drops and such. At first it all seemed fine, so what's the issue? Well, first we need to understand why Chambers is a different raid than TOB and TOA. While those two raids were pretty consistent and they mostly rely on skill, Chambers is, as my friend put it, more of an adventure. This is helped especially due to the random layout generated every raid, as no two raids are the same. This in turn just means that people are gonna approach it differently every single time, and people enjoy it due to not knowing what's going to happen. However, it also makes it way more annoying to actually grind. Ultimately, the difference here is that some people want conveniency, while some people want consistency. Something being more consistent means there's less variation, and thus you have less annoyances when grinding something. Something being more convenient, on the other hand, doesn't wave away that variation, it merely makes dealing with it more easy. The core of the issue here is how these two things might seem similar, but they actually have different impacts. For conveniency, things like the regen pools, the stacking rate supply such as worms and kindling, they make doing the raid better, not because you won't have to deal with the randomness associated with them, but because they simply don't require you to sacrifice your entire inventory at every single room. Consistency, on the other hand, is more related to drops being much more standardized. Some bosses always dropping overloads allows you to plan ahead and make a strategy, but remove the randomness associated with maybe having to make your own supplies. For some people, having to deal with the randomness is part of the raid, and that's what makes it fun, that's what makes it feel like an adventure, while with TOB or TOA, you know what you're going to get. However, this kinda makes it a pain to grind. If you want to go for the pet, if you want to go for a log, or if you want to go for the caves, since you can't exactly plan ahead and chances are you will be running several raids every day. Some players prefer the grinding playstyle while other players prefer the surprises that lie within the raid. The most interesting aspect, however, is that the line between consistency and conveniency depends on who you ask. For some players, every quality of life update made the raid more consistent and thus less enjoyable to run, while for others the quality of life updates merely help them enjoy the raid more, since they get to strategize something before the raid even begins. This line is almost personal and you won't ever get to a consensus. Personally, while I enjoy the regen pools and items being stackable in my inventory, having every boss have a set drop of overloads or every chest giving you worms kinda takes away from the suspense of not knowing what you will need to do during that raid. Obviously, a lot of the quality of life updates were good, don't get me wrong, I'm just trying to explore why, despite the raid being made better by them, it ruined the fun aspect of it for some people, and I think that this is what it boils down to: consistency versus conveniency. While it is not the topic of this video, there is something to be said about the grind mentality that the game has and how that can potentially change certain pieces of content and their aspects. I won't be discussing this here, but it's something to keep in mind for the future, especially when it comes to quality of life updates done to already existing pieces of content. But why won't players just not use this if they don't like it? People tend to take the path of least resistance. Yeah, you can steal and gear at every thieving room if you want, but what's the point? The change is made and people are probably gonna be upset at you if you're taking longer, if you are, raiding with people that want to be efficient. While sometimes I think this argument works, in this case, I don't think it quite does. That's my little video on the Chambers of Xeric quality of life updates. Again, it's just something a bit different from what I usually do, it's also super small since I don't think it warranted a super extended video, and overall I still want to talk about some of these things without it being part of a larger video. Anyway, with all of that being said, I hope you enjoyed.